This is your brother G World 7_D. How you doing? This is a quick video. As you do your research, beware of the constant Africanizing of everything that's indigenous here to the Americas. All right. Once you start really doing your studying, like with the Gula Geechees, the Gule Ogeechee people, you really start to realize that you know majority of our people already were here, but you have so many of these historians and these YouTubers will continue to push an African narrative. So there's an agenda. And I said before, once you start really learning your so-called history, you'll realize that there's so many people out here who have an agenda or they're gatekeepers to continue to push a fake, false narrative of who we are. And I mentioned before in other videos, it's all about stealing land, acquiring land, and making you a foreigner in your own land. So when you hear that idiot Umar Johnson constantly hollering about African, you need to see him for the enemy that he is. He's extremely ignorant with a PhD. He's extremely ignorant, and he continues to promote a narrative. And he was so sad about it. He comes across as like he's very confident, and unfortunately, some of our people, because he has a quote, he's Dr. Umar Johnson or Jermaine Shoemaker or Fatumbe, whatever name this Negro goes by, that people are going to listen to him. That's the problem. Our people have been heavily indoctrinated at these universities and start research using common sense. And that Negro's not using common sense. He doesn't make any sense. All those so-called slave revolts that happened, like say from Maryland to Texas, were Aboriginal indigenous Negroes, man. They were here. It wasn't a bunch of Africans coming in. Our people were fighting for their land and their dignity. But unfortunately, many of our people believe that people just came over in a slave ship, slave boat. And they're not opening their eyes and opening their minds to really trying to dig in to study their real history. Like I said, you have foreigners, white folks and others, including melanated Negroes, who have no business writing our history. But then you have some domestic Negroes continue to push their lie too. All that Pan-Africanism and Afrocentricity, African studies, all that stuff is originated by white folks, man. Or that Afrocentricity, or excuse me, that African studies originated by white man. And all that stuff sprang off from that, man. That stuff's not for us. That was created by someone outside to try to say because we look a certain way that we must be from somewhere, and also as a way to make us foreign, like I said earlier, on our own land. And instead of us taking pride in who we are here and fighting for what we are here, we won't fight here. We'll sit there and flee to a land that's not ours. Say, let's go back to Africa, which is nonsense since we're not from there. All right. But I want you brothers and sisters to continue to question all that stuff, man. And I'm going to go into some of these books I have that's dealing with the Aboriginal blacks of the Southeast, some of the Southwest, but the Southeast, as well as just so-called black people globally. Because you understand, the Aboriginal people globally were so-called black people. I mentioned numerous times before how you had a clown that came on my page, man, claiming I didn't know what I was talking about the black Europeans, saying they were just African. And like I said before, that had to be a white person or a Negro Pan-African who just want to make a person with black faces African. And I was showing pictures of the black nobility, as well as showing black people faces by castles. But then all the time when you look at cartoons or you look at movies, they have these British nobilities as white when white folks won't run anything. This is how you really can pick up on the lies that have been given to us by outsiders who are not in our best interest, man. And this is why it's so important to study our true history. And this is just a quick video that I want to make just to just get you brothers and sisters realize, man, take some time during the week to do some reading and researching. Just take some time, man. And the more and more you do this reading and researching, man, you realize that what you have been taught in school has been just totally inaccurate information. And the fact the whole slave narrative, a lot of it's a bunch of BS, because you brought all them people over here, some ships it takes months to sail over here through that open sea. Months. They didn't have motors. They were basically sailing in large ass ships. Some boats. So it's impossible to have all those people like that packed up like sardines, man. The Negroes are already here. They have been reclassified. And it was so uniquely, when you start studying stuff, you realize that now that we have these boundaries within countries, that people were traveling by ships and they were sailing by the coastal regions to like one part of the Americas to another part of the Americas. But see, when you start listening to these mainstream stories, you're not going to get that information. You won't get that you just a slave from Africa. See, and I don't know why some people don't pick up on that, man. You have to do your research. Continue to do your research. Do not listen to these Negroes at these fancy-ass universities like the University of Chicago, where Breasted was at, like the Northwestern, or where Melville was at, which they have a library named after that bastard. I believe they still do. Yeah, man, it's sad. And you get the Negroes there. Well, African studies is so beautiful. Oh my God! I'm gonna say you going named after a white man who basically tried to write you out of your own history here in America, man. Who took part in it. But you Negroes continue to honor that bastard. But hey, it is what it is. That's why I don't listen to mainstream Negroes, man. The hell with these fraternities, sororities, man. They can all go to hell. You need to really, really understand these gatekeepers have done a lot of damage to our people. And obviously, and they use these outsiders have used these Negroes as, they'll pluck these Negroes out, put them in certain positions, and then push them so hard, say, see, young man, they're the ultimate role model. If you do the right thing, you be just like this little colored person who's selling you out. So I'm just saying, for that aspect, man, brothers and sisters, continue to do your research, man. And then use common sense. And start putting things together. And start realizing these names, like I said before. Oconee, Ogeechee, Tallahassee, Kankakee, Tuskegee. These names, it's the reason why these names sound similar, man. It's the reason these names sound similar, man. Because they're really the same damn Negro people. And they have multiple different wars throughout the Americas, but particularly in the Southeast, where the Negroes were fighting to maintain their identity and who they were. You're not descendants of slaves. You're descendants of brothers who were prisoners of war. But you're not descendants of African slaves. Because you're not African. You're indigenous to this land. You were written in books and reclassified as African, but you're not African. That's something that idiot Lovely T need to understand. That's something that other African sister Janice needs to understand. That's something that little other African lady, Ayam Alejo, needs to understand. And some of them African dudes need to understand, like that home team history clown, realize that we were already here, as with that From Nothing clown. Those are clowns who only scratching the surface of your history and want to make your history basically run around Africa with you have little clothes on. Well, come on, man. Don't listen to these Negroes, please. Do your own research, please. Do your own research. Go to the library and just do some reading. Then use some common sense. Study the true Stoner Rebellion, the Yamasee War, all that stuff, man. Study it, man. Study how the fact that you had many of these different Aboriginal groups enslaving other groups or capturing them, making them prisoners of war here in the Americas. Study it, man, because the information is right in front of your face. Do not listen to Umar Johnson. He's an idiot. Said he's a moron. Jabari is a goofball, man. These people, Garfield's an asshole. These people don't know what the hell they're talking about, man. They want to make you a slave from Africa. They want to make your history of slavery. And make slavery synonymous with the Negro, when actually slave comes from slobbering and talking about the white folks. Peace and love, brothers and sisters.